G'day guys, Wayne Forrest speaking with the lovely Susan.
Hello everyone, Susan Cook here. So good to be with you again.
And again, we've got the lovely Ross Ormsby. How are you, Ross?
Great, thanks Wayne, great. I even wore the same shirt for continuity this week.
So good to speak to you guys. I'm here speaking from Brisbane, Australia, and my little brothers.
From New Zealand, Hawke's Bay in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And Raglan, check that one out. Check that one out on the internet. Beautiful
Yes.
stuff.
It's a beautiful place, Raglan. We just recently visited that Raglan in the summer, and actually caught up with Ross as well and had lunch with him. Today, this is
Where to go?
Yeah.
This is our second interview with Ross because he's such an interesting guy, and there's so much we want to pull out with having these chats of this podcast with you, Ross. And I think where I would love to start is, you mentioned sickness. You were going through a lot of sickness, and you had a ulcer on your hip, and that was also the start of this awareness of discovery, and you wanted to create a better life for yourself because it was on death's door. So can I get you just to speak into that a little bit more and what you started to discover about yourself?
Yeah, that was a big time in my life about 3 years ago, where I had a massive hip ulcer and that nearly killed me. The journey of discovery, I think, starts when we are born. We're if, as seekers of knowing more and being ourselves, we start to find out what's going on. And if I just backtrack a little bit too to the day of my injury, I knew I was going to break my neck. I knew I was going to be in a wheelchair. It was very subtle knowing, but I knew that was coming up. I even asked someone. So from
How
16,
did that happen? My goodness. How did you know?
I think we all have subtle awarenesses of things that are going to happen, and call it deja vu, call it just really subtle. It was. I felt weird that day, and it was like I was looking at my life from outside my body. And when I broke my neck, the moment I broke my neck, I was on the ground probably about 8-10 seconds, the amount of time it took everyone to get up from the scrum. And in that time, I saw probably a 5 to 10 minute video of me in a wheelchair in the future.
So for everybody who hadn't heard our previous podcast, Ross was playing rugby at school, and that is how he became injured. So just to let people know.
So yeah, I broke my neck, and I'm now I'm in a wheelchair. Yeah. And
he's so happy. I just can't get over this guy. It's like, and so I'm in a wheelchair and my hands don't work so well. He's just like my darling Wayne. It's sort of, here I am in my wheelchair. My hands don't work, but I am positive and happy. How fantastic.
It's someone's just done a little documentary on it. It's a little bit like, will you let your circumstances and the life that's been created define you? Mm-hmm. And I know it doesn't define Wayne, and I know he does similar sort of adventures and is facilitating consciousness in the world. So will we let it define us, or can we look at? And this is what you've led into, Wayne. The transformation and the seeking of what's creating these things in our lives, and that probably from not so much 16, but I was looking for alternative health things from the sicknesses I had going on from 18 onwards probably, and I found alternative things like color therapy and other healing things. So yeah, and around.
So what have you talk about color therapy and all these other things that you've actually studied, and you are qualified to be able to help people with these things. What led you into the field of healing from that?
Yeah, and again, let me preface this, and I'm aware that everybody has healing abilities and energies that will change things. So no, I created sickness in my world, and what gift that's been is that I keep asking for healers and people to work with me, and then I had the desire to learn how to be a healer myself, or open those energies up and those talents up. And from about 2003, when again I crashed in London Marathon, got a bursitis on my elbow. Again, that was an injury that created me making the demand to look at what my programs were, what I had created, and undo them, clear them. And that led into learning how to do healing, putting my hands on a body, or being able to talk to someone and say the thing and be a space for them to lower their barriers.
So for the audience, what type of healing did you seek out, and what form of healing as a light worker are you actually using, where you lay hands on and people or yourself and create the healing from energy, I presume?
Most of the one that I've worked with and found worked well with me was something called Access Consciousness, and I use a lot of those tools. It's not just hands-on, it's also a thing of running the bars on the head, and that is one that lets go of programs and things we've taken on from other people, and decisions, things that have gone on in many lifetimes. And
it's like inner child therapy.
Yeah, it's also looking at all of the places that we've made decisions in our lives that are limiting ourselves, our mind creating limitations and blocks, and undoing those. And there's a bit of hands on the body stuff, and talking to people in an audience where I may just say to them, hey, just think of an incident that you would like to let go of that made you unhappy or stressed or whatever that is, and being able to get people to look at those moments and invite them to change it and being a contribution to change.
That's fascinating. You know, as a Reiki master myself, where you actually say anybody can do it, I totally am in accordance with you, because we are all more powerful than we realize. And the energy from universal spirit, God, some people prefer to say dog, back from, people more comfortable with how they speak about this incredible force of energy that we all have. Many of us in this world are unaware of this incredible power that each and every one of us have, the source that we actually can use. And as a unit of everyone, how powerful we are. Can you actually bring in that thought of energy and let the public know how you use that and how you've learned that as a healer?
There are many aspects of this, and I would say for me it's the willingness to be aware of everything with the world and with people and their bodies, and judge none of it. Judge none of where it's come from and how it's been created, or what programs, or whether they're willing to change or not, and be that space to contribute and invite. So there's a big aspect of it, that being a space and inviting people without judging them. The other is just knowing that me being an infinite being and being myself, and choosing to open up to energies and capacities and talents that I may have, and then being willing to ask, is there body processes, is there Reiki, is there things that I can add to who I am and the capacities that I have, as well as knowing my body has consciousness and healing abilities. Sure, I'm paralyzed, but these crippled hands, turned up hands, man, we can create some change with pain and trauma and concussion. Concussion's one that I've found clears within about 10 minutes with me lately. So
where can people find you, Ross, in order to have you come in and to seminars, to talks, and places where you can actually empower people with your healing powers as well?
Great, thank you. I actually, when I got very sick and was thinking I was almost dying, I shut down my facilitation business and stopped because I needed to. But what I've done is start up something called Adventures with That Guy Ross, and it's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. So I'm choosing to facilitate the world through creating my life as fun. So it's a different sort of showing up to facilitate consciousness. And what I also love to do is talk to people about changing things with their bodies, creating their life, and how they might contribute to the earth, clearing energy. So thank you. Adventures with That Guy.
Adventures with That Guy Ross. And I tell you what, it will be an adventure for whoever happens to encounter Ross, because he's magnificent.
Thank you.
Yeah, wait.
So Ross, mate, what I've heard just listening here, and I'm really enjoying this, is that for you to be that space is pure listening without judgment. And I love that, you know, because we interviewed someone else a week or so ago, and they said exactly the same, that it's just being really conscious, being in the moment, listening, and holding that space for a person.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty awesome. And the other thing I was listening to, that all these, your words, the shit in your life that you created, you know, and then the accident happened as well, you know, which is shit. So we both have talked about this, how we create everything, and that accident, rugby accident, was no accident, and that these things are just there to help us create that awareness of our consciousness, or you know, growing that consciousness. So
Yep.
would you say that that's how you feel as well?
I would say that I came onto this, that it was no accident, that it was a creation before I came into this body and this family, and psychic, and where I've asked my own awareness, what did I create this for? And more to the space of now what? Now what can I be? How can I be? Where can I be? Myself. And now what would I like to create? What have I come to this planet for? So it was no accident. I just call it that in normal conversation. It was a creation, and out of that injury and sickness, I've needed to find and continue to create ways of clearing and changing it. So interestingly, I in this talk, I know the video's not out yet, but the space and conversation, my body is quite intense at the moment. We're speaking about this. It's not out on media, but it's opening up the world for people to open their world to their pain, sickness, trauma, and I'm sensing it through my body. So just a little segue again. Our body is so sensory, like a cat's whisker or a cell phone tower, that a lot of the stuff that we say we're feeling doesn't actually belong to us. It's our awareness that our body has of other bodies and the earth and people without bodies. So
intuition, and what's within you, but also who you're connecting with, like the three of us are right now. It's powerful. It's a very good explanation to the public. While I've got the platform here and I'm seeing it from you, Wayne, I would like the public to hear what both you, Wayne, and Ross have to say about the power of belief in yourselves, where, for instance, Wayne, you went ahead after your accident, you ended up with a wife and 2 children, regardless to what's happened to you. And this is where I actually bring in the conversation from you towards Ross, and how you can actually carry on with an everyday life. And actually, and this is not very ladylike, but I'm allowed to at my age, pull the finger at whoever is out there and say, to hell with this, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to carry on living this incredible life, because this is why I'm here on this earth.
Yeah, well, turn the tables on me there, Susan.
Yay!
For me, and I think everyone's different and everyone's journey's different. But for me, my consciousness didn't come until a long way down the track. It took me at least 20, 21, 22 years before I started to really realize that there was no accident. My accident was no accident. And funny enough, I had a lovely lady that I met for a cup of coffee just a week or two ago who said to me that I had my accident, so I would sit down and listen and talk to people, right? Because like Ross, we were both very outdoors sort of people. We were busy with our farming and our rugby and sports and things like that. So, I was so busy doing that I wasn't having the time to sit down and listen and talk to others. And one thing that injury did is made me sit down like Ross. I'm in the wheelchair, and of course, sitting down, you had to start to talk to people and listen differently. And so that's one way, that's answering one part of your question. But the other part of your question is also, yes, it was hard. When I first had that accident, it was such a shock. And I put it the way as I had to mourn for my best friend. And that was my old life of being a physical rugby player, sheep shearer, farmer.
Well, you know what? I can hear that, but you were totally physical because you have 2 children. So I'm very proud of you, Wayne, and the public's going to know that as well. These guys can carry on with their lives. So anybody else sitting out there in a wheelchair, don't be sorry for yourself, because you can actually get out there, have a meaningful life, find a beautiful partner or a brilliant carer who turns into a beautiful partner. And that is something that is imperative that people know. Because I've been in the personal assistant and caring world looking after people like both of these incredible men. And believe me, they're sexy, man. They are cool. They can get on with their lives and do what they have to do. Believe me, they are powerful. So Ross, me leading into you from there, how do you actually explain your existence and your power as a healer, but not just that, as a physical and beautiful man in a body that's actually broken, and you've put your finger up to that situation and said, I'm moving on. This is how I'm doing it.
It's lots of things along the way. Every 10 seconds we can make a new choice, and we can choose something again and again and again. And a big part of this is developing our knowing, and just keeping asking what we know, because we're, as infinite beings, we're very potent beings, and it's all of this creation that we call the mind and ego, and these things that get in the way and limit ourselves. So we're really the ones that limit ourselves. And how do you get out of that? Well, you start acknowledging that you're a creator, and you acknowledge all the creations, and you keep creating, keep asking questions, keep following the energy, keep choosing, and making that demand. And a big part of that is, for me, as someone that facilitates consciousness and that creates healing, is being willing to have contribution from anything that can contribute to creating the change for people, and me. Whether it be asking, for some people, asking their ancestors, angels. The earth is a big one that contributes to me with healing sessions and facilitations. Other people choosing consciousness, asking their contribution, whether you're in front of them or not. So yeah, it's recognizing that my body can be a healer and facilitator of consciousness. I am, and all the things that I call upon to contribute as well. So many aspects. And along the way, and I do this in a healing session as well, is if something small changes, if people have a sore back and it gets better, I just stop partway through the session and ask them, did it get better? Could you acknowledge that? And along the way, I'm acknowledging, yeah, it got better. I was a contribution to the change. So keep acknowledging the things you create and how wonderful you are, how the creation of healing changes, and what you are to the world allows it to be stronger. You don't second guess yourself.
So it's the power within yourself, and the power within yourself that you actually give to the people that you're with as well. And this is the same that both Wayne and I actually practice in our coaching businesses as life mastery consultants. We believe in the power of energy and universal spirit. It is so incredibly powerful. And when you actually have the awakening, as we call it, and the knowledge that no matter what type of body you're in, or how you're born, or how things happen to you in circumstance in life, it is up to you and only you to have the power of I am, and this is who I am in love's presence. Is that not so, Wayne? Just before we close down on this podcast, because this is the end of the podcast this time, because I think we're going to have to bring Russ back again. He's just so knowledgeable. So before we shut down, Wayne, what are your thoughts? And we actually acknowledge Ross and we respect him as well for all the things he's doing for people on this planet. Thank you so much, Ross.
Thank you. And just to finish off, I'd like to just say a lot of this facilitation is to facilitate people to know that they know the subtle things, what their body's telling them, what they actually know. So I'd just like to acknowledge you both for the amazing change in your coaching that you create in the world and what it creates for the planet. So thank you both. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you.
And thank you, Ross. And just for my summary up, mate, what I see is that big heart of yours, and it is love for others. You're creating a space where you can help individuals and others. And so if you're interested, Ross, reach out to his Facebook page and his Instagram. Can you say that again, Ross? What was it?
Thank you. There's a platform called Adventures with That Guy Ross on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. But Ross Ormsby, if you like to Google me as my name, you can find that on Facebook too.
And I think we'll have to have him back again because he's just got so much more to give. And so one day we'll jack that up. And thank you very much for listening to us. That's Wayne.
I'm going to use a Kiwi word, aroha. I learned that and I love it so much. Aroha, Ross. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Kia ora koutou. And thank you, everyone that's watching this in the future. I wonder what else is possible now that we had never imagined.
Awesome. Bye for now.
We can fly. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. Susan Cook here. Wayne and our beautiful Ross as well. Thank you so much for listening.